This week on NWP, we sing about our choices. Hello everyone and welcome to Nerds Without Pants episode 110. We cover everything while bearing it all. I am Julian. I'm joined as always by Patrick.
You can't wait to just listen to this episode just like lying down somewhere and, you know, high as fuck just listening to all these songs.
You can do that if you choose. Angelo probably will not.
I will not.
I hope it's raining.
Driving to work.
Some of these
completely sober.
Some of these songs are so depressing and deep, you know, soul searching, like you said earlier before we were recording, Julian. That like, man, I'm just gonna be like, you know, in my bedroom. It's gonna be dark. I'm gonna be crying. It's gonna be okay.
That's fine. If you want to do that, you are perfectly entitled to do so. But we also have a very special guest, a man with a sexier voice than all of us combined. We have John Square Roots Brandon.
First time, long time.
John, thank you so much for being on the show. I've been wanting to have you on for a long time, actually, but this particular episode is perfect for you because, as I know from Square Roots, you know your video game music.
I do.
You appreciate your video game music.
I do.
So this is going to be a lot of fun. Before we get into that, though, just a couple little things. The first one is we got another new review, which is like, that's shocking. Like normally it goes months between reviews. This one comes from XZO3283 and it says, the podcast presented by typical average gamers. It goes on to say Nerds Without Pants is the podcast for gamers who just want to hang out with normal fellas. These guys aren't trying to pretend that they're hip or trendy. They're relatable and don't make you feel like they're above you. It feels like you're hanging out with old friends. Julian really makes new listeners feel really welcomed and will even take time out of his day to respond to a comment you leave on the site. I jumped on when they began making the show more interactive, and it's fun to get a chance to chime in on a subject with Chrono Crossing, named after my favorite game of all time, or Stage Select. I went out of my way to download this horrid iTunes, I'm a filthy Android user, to spread the pantsless word, because these guys deserve some recognition. Try not to have your mind blown when Patrick flexes his insane imagination, or Angelo doesn't have Ocarina of Time in his top 5, maybe even top 10 of games from 1998. If there's a hidden gem amongst gaming podcasts, this is it. So, thank you, which is obviously Exrian, just from the comment. So, thank you so much, for putting up with downloading iTunes just to make that review. That made my heart sing. We appreciate it. As always, if you want to go to iTunes and leave us a review and write one down, we'll talk about it on the show. I have been bad about interacting with people like on Twitter and stuff. I've been trying to get back to really interacting and commenting and stuff. Actually, I have to respond to a couple comments over at Pixelbit, and I just haven't done it yet. I'll probably do it after we finish recording, but
yeah. That reminds me, Julian, I wanted to respond to somebody who wanted me to be like in their like class, and I couldn't because I can't get my password, and it was like a really big process, and I gave up after a couple days. So I'm sorry about that. I forgot I didn't forget, but like I kind of couldn't get back into the site, but I'll be back in soon and like more interactive. It has been fun that way though.
Well, that was Super Step. So Super Step, if you want to just hit me up on Pixelbit and I can try to facilitate that for you.
Yeah, totally. If it's not too late.
Yeah. But anyway, that's it for that. We're going to try to make this show a little tighter than normal. So we're going to go ahead and jump into the stage select. And this week's stage select is brought to us by Angelo. So I'm going to go ahead and just pass it over to you, Angelo, and let us know what we're doing and all that good stuff.
So I wanted to know, and I think people may have assumed this is RPGs, but I don't care what game it is, but I want like village themes, town themes. What are your top 3 musical town or village themes? So, yeah, and you wanted me to start, so I should probably start.
However you want to do it, man.
Why don't we let the guest go first? That's always fun. Put him right on the spot.
Do I list all 3 or do we?
No. So what we'll do is we'll start with like our number 3 and we'll go around, then our number 2 and we'll go around.
Okay, that sounds good.
You do it that way.
All right. Well, let me just put a number on this.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I didn't. I numbered them now. So I would say my number 3 is from a little video game called Phantasy Star for the Sega Master System.
Oh shit!
Yep.
And
the FM synth version or the regular version?
Regular.
Okay.
That's a very important
right.
distinction. I don't
is.
I don't like the FM synthesis chip on the Japanese Master System. I think it sounds, I don't know, it sounds like an ad-lib card. Like it's not a very distinctive sound and it's very tinny. And
It sounds stiff.
Yeah.
It's like forced or something. I don't know. Yeah, I know what you mean though.
On the Master System, they aren't as good as the Nintendo ones, but this was the reason I chose this one is it's my first RPG, the first JRPG I ever played. And, I was 8 when it came out. And, I just made up lyrics to the song. I loved it.
Nice.
It was, very instrumental in my getting to know RPGs. Like, even if it was kind of a Dragon Quest clone, this town theme is simple, but as a child, I loved it.
Yeah.
That actually happens to me sometimes when like you have just a song on in the background of like whatever you're doing and you start making lyrics, or I make poems sometimes about them. But like I was wondering like does that happen to you for a lot of games? And also, how far did you get in Phantasy Star? Because those games are hard as fuck.
I never actually finished Phantasy Star 1. I watched my brother finish it back then. He's always been really good at games.
Wow.
Yeah, those first 2 are brutal. And I mean, it has a good like sort of. So that game's oppressive, right? I played the first Phantasy Star. No, it's you're in very tight corridors. It's a first person like dungeon crawler, and you're just running through tunnels this whole time, and like. You'll move forward a frame and the enemies are just on you. And the encounters are fairly brutal. So, like, this is the one time they have a chance to, like, kick back with some chill music.
Yeah.
It's pretty chill.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
Now, is it just one town music, John?
Yes. There's only one town theme. I'm pretty sure. There might be one on Desolus because there's 3 different planets. So basically it's the first person dungeon crawler that has an overworld. But it's third person when you're outside in towns or on the map, and then first person when you're in the dungeon.
Okay. I only played Phantasy Star 4, so I'm aware of like how the first game was set up, but I've never actually sat down to try it. The first person stuff, like I was very bad at those types of RPGs.
I'm pretty sure all the towns have the same theme.
Okay.
And the only lyric I remember now, 30 years later, is something about the 7 friendly giants. Don't ask me anything more.
Okay. Why don't we go right on down to Julian then?
Okay, so before I start my list, I have to let everybody know that I imposed certain restrictions on myself for this topic and even do like tracks from like the same Final Fantasy game in certain situations. And I didn't want to do that. I also didn't want to pick like obvious games that I've done many times in the past. So this was really hard for me. And as such, my third selection is actually one that I've mentioned in the past when we did our, Music of the Generation special a couple years ago. And it's going to be Bowerstone Market from Fable 2.
Ooh.
So I'll just kind of reiterate what I said then, is that it is the song that reminds me of romping around Albion. Like, when I hear it in my head, I'm just like, oh yeah, my dog's with me, and I'm gonna go sell some produce, and then buy some real estate, and go beat up some bandits, and in addition to that, it's just so evocative of the origin of the development team, right? Like, it sounds hella British. It just sounds like, oh, this was made, you know, in the UK. Like, it just has that feel to it. And it's rare when you can pinpoint exactly where a game was made, because of its soundtrack. But I really feel the Fable soundtracks hit that so well. So, Bowerstone Markets, that's it for me. That's the one for me.
We got Chewbacca on the set.
Nice.
Oh man, sorry about that.
Somebody's jealous.
This is our first
That's a good
appearance by a cat ever on the podcast, isn't it?
I think Caprica's probably jumped into frame once or twice.
I'm pretty sure Glory went walking around a couple of times too.
But I've not heard their purr. I think we need to get like a 3-way cat purr going, guys.
Nope.
No, she just wants to sniff it.
Because that's a cat.
She knows what's up.
Yeah. Oh, Patrick, did you want to just keep going?
Yeah, I wanted to do an honorable mention first, though, because Michael117 had like a really good post, I thought, on the boards for the last episode. Like, when I read like the people underneath and I listened to all their songs and stuff. He was talking about Dark Souls, and I thought it was like haunting, that song that he picked. And my friend, who like was really big into Dark Souls and showed me this other song, was like really into that. He said sometimes like he even just like stayed in like the Majora's whatever it's called, or, in Dark Souls 2, just like in that spot, because it was like the only place that he felt safe. And I was like, that's hilarious. It sounds exactly like Phantasy Star. But I think it's not even like the best Dark Souls song, because there's this other one that is like that everybody like needs to listen to, but it's like for their final boss, so I can't technically put it in there. But it's for Dark Souls 1. Yeah, and it's Gwyn, Lord of Cinder. So like I think like if you're gonna have, you know, like a song in your top 3, it's got to be like the best song also in the game. And for me, like my number 3 was also one that Michael said. It reminded me like of a time when I was in college, which was Stalker Shadow of Chernobyl's theme song. I listened to it again a couple nights ago, and just like I thought about when my friends and I went to this Walmart and he stole it and we just played it. So it's really personal to me. like it's like it has everything from like a subdued like evanescence in it to like a perfect circle a little bit. Like if you listen to The Outsider, there's like this little section where a lot of metal like breaks down, like an Avenged Sevenfold in Backcountry. It kind of like has like a chord that they strum one note at a time. Rodrigo and Gabriela do that too, and I think that happens in this Stalker Shadows Chernobyl song, but it's like so serene yet metal in a restrained kind of way that it like makes me just really remember a lot of those big experiences that I had in that game, and also how stolen it was.
But it's also a rare like vocal track, which you don't really see too often when you're talking about town themes, at least not in my experience. So that's pretty cool too.
Maybe Final Fantasy 13 had one, I think.
Yeah, there's vocal tracks all over that game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not usually a big fan of vocal tracks, but you know, it is what it is. I mean, I don't really know what else to say about it.
Yeah.
Well, because you usually, especially if we're talking about older games, you like, at least for me, I like the type of music that loops easily, that I can just like, and I don't get tired of it for the entire time that I'm in that town or I'm in that area or I'm on that overworld. And so obviously with vocal tracks, and that happened with me in Final Fantasy 13, where it's like, okay, this track is nice, but now I've heard it like 18 times in the last 3 hours. So it's kind of wearing off on me.
Mine's more nostalgic for Stalker because I didn't play it nearly as much as like an RPG. You know, you kind of can get through that game. But like I also got stuck probably and was in college, so I just like went on to the next thing. Plus we stole a lot of games at the same time, so.
But I mean, like, it has that, it's weird because it has that, like, kind of empty, kind of melancholy feel to it. Like, it's about how the world is destroyed and crap, but it's got this super bright guitar.
Yeah.
You know? And it works somehow. Like, I wouldn't, if you had told me, oh, this is the instrument we're going to use for this really kind of brooding song.
Because it's still hopeful.
Like,
it's like after the explosion, you know, it's post-apocalyptic. You know, there's still something there.
It is very good. It's like, but I don't know. Like, I like it. Like, I like the super bright guitar.
Also, Nerds Without Pants does not condone stealing games. Pay for your games.
No, dude, I
Bobby
pay for
Bronson,
like
this is
all
for
my
you.
games. I don't steal games. I just like watch somebody do it. That's what you got to remember, kids. Is like you don't be the one. Just make someone else do it.
Or don't.
Yeah, or not.
Yeah. I mean, there's like a Key and Peele skit where this one guy is like hyped up after like a sports game and he just starts going, "Yeah, kid, you can do anything. You can jump off a building. You can fly. You can literally fly." And then the guy's like, no, you can't do that, kids. Please don't jump off. He's like, "No, man, like right now you can jump. You should do it." And then it cuts to 10 deaths last night as kids jump off their roof. Oh, man.
Angelo, what was yours?
Yeah. So my number 3 is from a game with the number 3 in the title, Suikoden 3.
Ooh.
Oh, okay.
It is the Farm Village theme from Suikoden 3. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but it is, okay, so this is like a village I want to live in, right? Like, just judging by the theme, it is this, like, super happy, perky dance with, like, this Latin percussion kind of in the background.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember that one.
It's great.
Is that
Like,
kind
it
of where
just-
Hugo's from? Is it like his town?
I have not played the game, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I just know the
Bad
music.
I feel like that almost disqualifies it from your list,
No.
Angelo.
No, because some of these I can't. Okay.
No, I'm just kidding.
But Angelo like listens to music like this while he's working and stuff. So
This is
I
true.
think it's like a part of his life.
Yeah.
You know, like for real, I have a playlist of 800 like just video game tracks that I play while I'm working because it's great stuff to play while you're working. Honestly, just throw on the headphones, and usually there's no lyrics, so there's nothing that like mentally distracts me from what I'm doing. But it also sort of like kind of shuts out the outside like distractions.
It's a
Yeah.
big new genre on Spotify. A lot of people are listening to stuff like that. They're catching on. Like it's really easy to focus. That's why gamers are so good.
Yeah. But when you think like Farm Village, you think like people working all the time, people like, you know, just like really hard sort of life. And then this theme is almost opposed to that. Whatever job they're doing, it's a very, very happy work. So, I really like that one. Like I will just loop that for a while and it can kind of boost the mood a little bit. Quick shout out though. I wanted to put the sound from the town in Nier on this. But I've mentioned that before, so I didn't want to do anything I mentioned before.
But you still had to mention Nier.
I did.
Because it's an episode of Nerds Without Pants.
Podcast. Dude, that theme is amazing. Especially like if you get closer to Devila while she's playing the guitar, you can hear her singing to it and hear the guitar strumming, and if you walk away, that part of the sound drops out. Really great, but... Yeah.
Suikoden 1 has a really good village song. The first town has a really great guitar. It's a very nicely sampled guitar, too. Suikoden has good soundtracks.
Yeah, it does. But that's my favorite one. I think we're back to Johnny.
We are.
All right. My number 2 is the town map or the city view of ActRaiser.
Nice.
Damn.
Yep.
That brings me
It's pretty
back.
good. do 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 do. It's just a really simple kind of harpsichord or something with some sampled choir voices going on in the background, and it meshes really well with the action because basically it's like sort of like a Sim City element. It's not really an RPG, but you're building a town by killing monster nests and doing spells and stuff and clearing out an area for villagers to live. And it's just this really cheerful tune, and the sound effects as you defeat enemies are timed really well with the music, like Super Mario Brothers. So it sort of all these little effects add a layer to the song, which I really like.
Sorry, that song is on that 800 track playlist I have, by the way.
Yay!
Yay.
I didn't know it made sound effects like that.
Yeah, because it like when you kill the bats and stuff, they make like little bloop 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 bloop, but it's timed well to the music.
And it's funny that you said that, John, because literally as you were talking about the song, like I was hearing the sound effects before you even mentioned it because it's so synonymous with that part of the game.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
And it's by Yuzo Koshiro, who is my favorite video game music artist dude.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah.
What else has he done?
Ys, he's done Streets of Rage, the whole series, Revenge of Shinobi. He does the Etrian Odyssey games. A lot of stuff.
He did Beyond Oasis.
He's got the spectrum, which is really cool. Like, there's some people that are, I forget his name right now, but the one who always does like the Tales of games has like a really guitar-driven like type of sound.
Yeah.
To his soundtracks usually. Koshiro just like runs the spectrum. He does. There's like orchestrated stuff, and then there's very symphonic stuff, and then there's very, stuff that's clearly designed to be played on a particular type of computer, like the Etrian Odyssey. I mean, just everything. He's really, really good.
Yeah, and it's funny because every time that someone brings up that he did ActRaiser, I'm always surprised, only because I always associate him with Streets of Rage 2, and you couldn't get further apart than those two soundtracks.
I remember like the menu and the theme to it, but only because I used to put it into my friend's system. I never had it myself. And every time I got there, like he was stuck at some part and he would pull it right out and be like, "No, we're not playing that. I can't get any farther." And it was like, what? So I never heard the sound effects because I only saw the menu.
Oh, you should definitely play it. It's a great game.
It is. Real quick funny story about that. So my cousin David back in the day, like, he was just kind of this video game genius that I just could not even hope to compete with. But, I had my Nintendo Power subscription and I saw a code to play ActRaiser without having magic. And so I sent it to my cousin. I was like, "Hey, look, if you want to play ActRaiser again without magic, here's a code for it." And he's just said, "There's magic in the game?" he had already done it.
Nice.
Wow.
So that's a really great game. And unfortunately, the sequel is it's a great, side-scrolling action game, but completely eliminates the sim part of it, which was my favorite part of the first ActRaiser. So that's a shame.
Well, the sim part sort of went to Soul Blazer instead, which is another really good game.
That's true.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So I guess it's my turn next.
It is your turn. I'm sorry. I'm really bad at this whole it's your turn thing.
So this I'm going to totally chalk up to subliminal or even peer pressure, because we had our guest on during our Switch special who's working on a Western themed RPG. And then Angelo, during our top 3 canceled games discussion, you brought up a Western themed RPG. So my second town selection is from a Western themed RPG called Wild Arms, and the track is simply called Town. There's 2 or 3 town themes in Wild Arms. This is my favorite, but I guess part of it is just talking about all those Western RPGs and actually listening to the music from them recently just got me really jonesing for Wild Arms. The first, I've only played the first one actually, but that soundtrack is one of those that has been on a rotating loop in my collection for years. So it always holds a special place in my heart, and I can pretty much put it or slot that into any discussion about video game music because it's just that damn good.
It's so good.
The only track I really remember is the opening one, but that is pretty amazing.
Oh yeah, yeah. I actually get a little emotional during the intro just because it reminds me of working in retail, because we would have display units, and so we would always want to put in games with really good attract videos. We didn't want stuff that was too repetitive or stuff that just stayed on the title screen. And Wild Arms back in the late 90s was one of those games where it's oh no, this is perfect. You first open the store in the morning, you're kind of tired, put on Wild Arms, just that's nice.
Yeah, that's such a good song.
Yeah.
The funny thing is I have a favorite town theme from Wild Arms as well, and its name is Port Town.
They're very descriptive with their titles.
You know exactly what they are.
So that's it for my number 2.
So archetypal, though.
Definitely.
How about Patrick?
Well, my number 2 is really classic, and I think it's surprising it hasn't come up on Angelo's yet, but it's Kokiri Village in The Legend of Zelda.
Okay.
No, I think it had to be somewhere, and I didn't want to put it number 1 because I could put Legend of Zelda themes #1 all over the place. Just like when Julian was saying he could make like an entire, I was thinking like list just devoted to the Final Fantasy village themes. That's why I played Theater Rhythm. Like I was like, I gotta like disqualify all those titles like you. But I had to put a Legend of Zelda one on. It had to be Kokiri Village because that's what I think of when I think of like my childhood, you know, like when I think of being like the young Link wanting to be old Link or something like that when I'm getting my hands on it first. Like that's, you know, like it brings back so many great memories and makes me just feel like an elf.
Like if I could describe that song in one adjective, it would just be the word cute.
Yeah.
Like, that is a cute song. And I mean that in a very positive, like non-diminutive way.
I would say
like,
innocent.
It's adorable.
Yeah.
Bouncy.
Joyful.
Yeah.
Very innocent, you know?
And I'm freaking sick of it because back in the day, like everybody wanted to try Ocarina of Time in the store. So, and of course you start in Kokiri Village. So it's just like, I haven't played that game in almost 20 years, but I still can remember, I remember that song vividly because it's just burned into my brain at this point.
Like the Kokiri are like so important to people. There's this one little girl at the Nintendo Switch event that I did, and she got asked, like I think I told this story, but just really quickly, she got asked a question about like one of the Legend of Zeldas, and at first she didn't get it, but the second question was like, who are those people? And then she just screams out, oh, it's the Kokiri! And she got like this pin. She was so happy. She's like, I'm gonna put this right on my jacket. Oh my god, you know, I beat like 8 Legend of Zelda games. It's the best day ever. And I'm like, yeah, you're playing Breath of the Wild like for the first time ever. You're one of the first people. You're so lucky, and you're like this tall, you know, very short, you know, very young, very
like a Kokiri.
Just like, wow.
It doesn't play well on an audio show, in case you're wondering.
Yeah.
The hand thing.
I know. Yeah, the cat, the hand motions, everything's going. We're going video, guys. We got to get on there.
It'll be a cold day in hell before we do a video podcast.
We gonna vlog?
Oh. Is it my turn?
It is.
Great. I pulled one from the Game Boy Color. And this is actually one of my favorite soundtracks. It is from Lufia the Legend Returns. Town of Albano.
Haven't played that one.
First go listen to the soundtrack because that chip is singing, man. But this one is like, it's the coolest. Like I almost want to hear it orchestrated. I want to hear it, like not a chip. It feels like it's bigger than the platform it's on, and I mean that in a very good way. Like, this song just kind of wants to explode out of that little sound chip. And I could almost hear, like, it sounds like it has, like, a real islandy feel to it in a way that doesn't necessarily carry across well on that platform, like I said, but I can almost hear, like, steel drums and that sort of thing happening. But, again, it's very happy. It's very bouncy. It's very perky. Those are kind of like the town themes the town themes I kind of gravitate towards because, you know, these are places I want to live, I guess. And there's a whole lot of movement in it for the short loop it's in too. Like there's 3 very distinct sections to the song where it doesn't quite lose its what it is, but it just moves from one thing to another where it like kind of gets really mellow and then comes right back up.
That's cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I really like that one a lot.
I'm stunned to hear like a Game Boy Color game pop up. That's
Go listen to that soundtrack. It's outstanding. We're back around to Johnny for number 1.
Number 1, coming in hot on the top 3 RPG Town soundtracks is Sword of Vermilion opening town theme, which starts with this guitar. It's like this dark, ominous song. It goes like, wow, and it's so ominous and just creepy. It's this great, really good use of the Genesis sound chip. That game has great music, and the opening town theme, I think, is the best town theme of any of them. It's just dark and angry. Your adopted father just died, and you find out you're actually the son of the deposed king after he got thrown out by some evil dudes. And so it starts off on this really angry note in this town that's been taken over by bad guys.
Very powerful.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're right. Like, that's one of those ones, like the Genesis sound chip is a tricky beast, right? Like it's almost feels like it's for a very particular sound.
Yeah.
But it's for that sound.
Yeah.
Right?
Because it's all like bells and percussion and this really crunchy guitar. Oh, it's just like that gives you chills and really
Like,
gives you a sense of the location.
It takes like that metallic sound that the chip has, and sort of just like, instead of it being like it can either in the right hands, that doesn't become a hindrance to the sound, it becomes a benefit.
Yeah,
Like,
for sure.
Let's use this to give this sound some teeth, right? And it does.
I haven't heard this track, but just the way that you guys are describing it, I'm picturing the title screen from Phantasy Star 4, which is also that kind of like real, like, kind of dirty, like percussion-y and guitar, like, backbeat to it.
Yeah. It doesn't have the bass line that the Phantasy Star 4 title screen has, but it's still pretty darn good.
Nice. It's nice to have somebody on that gives the Genesis some love, because I was a dyed-in-the-wool Nintendo soldier during the console wars. So it's not that I don't like. I've appreciated the Genesis over the years, but I didn't spend a lot of time with it at the time, other than like just like going over to friends' houses and playing it there. So I don't have as much of an affinity for it as I do the Super Nintendo. So it's nice to have somebody on that has that much knowledge of the system and the games on it.
Yeah, and see, I had a Genesis, so I've been impressed on here for like 5-6 years now.
But you wanted a Super Nintendo so bad.
I wanted everything. I was a kid.
Yeah, me too. I bought a TurboGrafx for no reason.
But that Air Zonk, though, that was
pretty good.
But
They're great shooters on that.
The Genesis had the better sound card, though, right?
Between the TurboGrafx and Genesis?
No, well, I mean, the Genesis and the Super Nintendo.
No.
There's people that make that argument, and I want to punch them in the face.
But I will say this: I like the sound when a good, talented person makes chip tunes with the Genesis. It sounds great.
Yeah,
like
Use Hero again.
Yeah, Yuzo Koshiro in Streets of Rage sounds amazing, and Revenge of Shinobi is, I think, one of the best game soundtracks of that era. And Target Earth. I don't know if you ever played that. It's Assault Suit Lanos, the American translation. That game has the best Genesis sound. It's so good.
The Musha OST is the best one on that platform. Fight me.
I don't know that one, actually.
Oh, stop everything. No, I'm dead serious. That is the best OST on that platform.
Okay, well, specifically, we're not going to stop recording, but you listeners at home, stop listening, go listen to that, and then come back.
It's amazing. It's absolutely like face-melting guitar solo all day long amazing. Moving on to Julian.
Moving on. So, of course, I have to put a Final Fantasy game on here. Like, I just wanted to restrict myself to one. And again, it's a situation where this is not, in my opinion, the best town music from Final Fantasy, but it is my favorite town music from Final Fantasy for very specific reasons. And it is Mystic Mysidia, from Final Fantasy IV. Specifically because of the boop boop. Such a fun, quirky little song.
I remember that song.
The weirdest shit happens to your party when you visit Mysidia, because in the storyline, at the beginning of the game, you basically annihilate part of that city, steal their crystal, and kill their elder, all at the orders of the King of Baron. And so when you come back wanting help, they're not too pleased to see you again. And so when you talk to people in that village at your peril, because they will turn you into frogs, pigs, miniaturize you, put you to sleep and take your gold. It's amazing. And all the while, this quirky little theme is just going on in the background with the boop boop. And I just love it. Like back when I used to play this with my cousin, we would always, when we would get the airship, there were two things that had to happen. We had to go to Fabul so that we could just sit there and let him listen to the music from Fabul, because that was his favorite town. Then we had to go to Mysidia so that I could sit there and listen to Mysidia for a long time. Then we could continue on our quest. So it's very specific reasons.
Yeah.
Back when we were doing Digital Mystery Tour, which was like our failed music podcast, I did an episode that was all about home, like home themes. And the one that I picked from Final Fantasy there was actually the Forest of Ronfar from Final Fantasy XI. But that's not a town theme. It's the area right outside of the town. So I couldn't pick that. I probably would have, but it's technically not a town.
Isn't that, Angelo, isn't that like the infield fly rule? Like it's like the infield, but also a little bit outside of the infield counts. Like I feel like...
Whatever, I don't care. You could have done all Final Fantasy. I'd probably be happy too.
Oh yeah, it was a challenge I put forth to myself.
Hey, we could totally have just another podcast devoted to only Final Fantasy music. I'm down.
Or to only Uematsu. I mean, because first of all, founding father status for as far as video game music goes, but like it holds up. Like just the stuff. He's one of those people that knows how to work the platform he's on.
Yeah.
You know, like we were talking about before. Like he made the Super Nintendo sound great. It already sounded pretty good. But you know, I mean, he just whatever.
Yeah, I mean these innovative artists were able to like pull out a lot of different emotions in us while we were playing things for the first time. So they were like pulling at our emotional strings with these like violins and stuff. It's like,
but like the first time you go into a cave in Final Fantasy IV and you hear that theme,
yeah,
it's like this whistling sort of drifty air, stale but beautiful cave. I don't know. It's great.
Yeah, it sounds so mysterious and spooky, and yeah. I totally forgot. The Zoso theme from 6 is also up there. That's
definitely
a great one.
Yeah. And that town is also so quirky that the music fits perfectly. Like, there's so many weird things that happen to you in that town because everybody's a liar except one person.
Right.
Black Mage Village from 9.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one too.
Yeah. That's not my
a very
pick.
good
I'm
one.
just saying, like, in that same Uematsu quirky music thing.
But we could end up going on for another hour of just about that. So we should get Patrick's number one.
Patrick?
Well, yeah, my number one kind of goes back to what you were saying about like that airy vibe that you feel like is just going through you. And I felt like it in the last month or so, and enough where I wanted to put it up on my number one of all time. And you may say it's too early for me to put it there, Julian, but but I think The Witcher 3, The Fields of Ard Skellig, it's amazing. Like, it's the intro music, like when you first boot it up and it goes right into the game too. It's like, and I'm like, oh my god, this is hitting me as if it were like Deadwood and Game of Thrones at the same time. And like, also, I feel like I'm in Lord of the Rings and one of the elves are like singing to me on like a cliff that like they're like putting their hands through high grass on the edge of like an ocean where like an ominous storm is like, you know, just like crashing against the cliff. And it's just amazing because every time I like kick back and just listen to that song, I feel transported to like new places, and it can just loop for hours and hours, like, you know, a good village theme would be. And it's like everywhere, and I never get sick of it. So yeah, it's a great violin, and it backs some of the most haunting stories I've ever seen in a video game or in a book or anywhere, and it has some of the best gameplay to like go along in a disharmonious way that makes me just like even more tense when I listen to it.
I really need to play that game.
I do too. And I find it interesting that you picked it only because when I play open world games, at least for me personally, I tend to feel that the music just kind of exists. Like I don't notice any of it. And we'll talk about in Consumption Junction, but I finished Breath of the Wild and like literally I didn't notice any music in that game until at the very end. And I was like, oh, okay, here's some Zelda music. Like this, here we go. This is what I came here for. But the rest of the game is just like, you could play me any other track from Breath of the Wild and I wouldn't be able to tell you that it came from that game. And I just spent 60 hours with it because it just completely faded into the background for me.
Like there isn't a whole lot of original music in that, but like what they do with the existing themes, like when you go to the Temple of Time and it's a broken mess and you hear it, but it's gorgeous, right? It's like this beautiful type of ruins. And that's exactly how the theme plays. It's this broken, beautiful version of the time theme thing, right? Or like when you go to a stable and at first you're like, well, I don't recognize this. But then every once in a while there's somebody out there playing a harmony. And the harmony is the doo-doo-doo, 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 doo-doo from the
Ocarina of
the other
Time.
Zelda games. Yeah. No, it's yes. I'm sorry. From the other ranch.
Oh, Lon Lon or
Doo-doo-doo, 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 doo-doo. That is the
Okay.
harmony line to the stable in Breath of the Wild.
wow, that's really cool.
It is. And you have to, if you go to a stable and there's somebody out there playing, every once in a while there'll be an NPC outside of it playing the harmony to it. It's really neat.
You know, music like that really is, it won't like ever hit you for a really long time in many different games, but when it does, it's very specific, just like Angelo said. And like Julian said, though, like in a lot of different games, I won't even realize it's there. But like for me, The Witcher, like was that one where it was like, I've just always heard this, and it's very minimalistic. And when it happens, it's like you've only heard that note like one time in your dreams or something like that. And now they're bringing it out and it's like ripping your heart in different directions, like as you just like run through these forests and stuff. But when it happens, you know, it's a special kind of feeling.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well,
I need to hear that. I'm not familiar with that one, unfortunately.
You
Angelo,
should, there's a 15-minute extended edition that I'm going to send you guys, and you got to listen to it. You know, just kick back and be like, oh.
probably not actually putting 15 minutes of it in the show, but it'll definitely be in here along with everything else, as you already know listening to this.
We don't need to pad our podcast. They're 3 hours anyway.
Angelo, you have shocked me already with your first two, so lay it on me with number one, because I literally have no idea what it could possibly be at this point.
Yeah, so here's the thing. This might be maybe the most pretentious thing I've ever done on a podcast, and I'm sorry right now. Okay, so here's the deal. This game did not come out in the United States.
Oh!
It is a DS game that was only released in Japan. But oh my word, if this is not the most perfect village theme I've ever heard. It's a genuine pick. I'm not picking it to kind of be like, ooh, look at me and all the stuff that I know. It's, I'm going to butcher this, but I'm going to give it the best shot I can. Noro Totoki no Kubo, Everyday Lifestyle.
Yeah, you're gonna have to send that to me because I can't write that down.
I'm again really sorry because I'm sure you. I feel like kind of nasty doing this because it feels like something somebody would do just to show off, but I'm really not doing that. You'll know it when you hear it, right? It's again very happy, very perky, like that. Those are the town themes I like. But this one, oh my word! It starts off with like this sort of a kind of a dancey flute thing. It's like you can just see somebody sitting on their porch with their feet up with a blade of grass watching the sun go down. And like just things scurrying around in the village and stuff like that. Oh, I'm like at a loss for words. It's really good. has almost like a sort of not Irish, but that sort of Celtic vibe to the first part of it.
Ooh, send
Sold.
it.
And the second,
Send it.
what's that?
Sold.
Yeah. And then the second part of it, but it's not full on, okay? It's there though. And then the second part is like just a very mellow like guitar kind of strum with, I don't know what the instrument is in the background, but it's just like a really chill sort of, it almost sounds like a really mellowed accordion. I don't know what it is though. You have to hear it. Trust me, it sounds a lot better than I'm describing it to you.
I like accordions.
I do too, but man, like, they're tough to use right. You know what I mean? Like that, not quite as hard as the Sega Genesis sound chip, but it's on that.
My mom plays the accordion well. She has one.
And there's certain music that it works well with.
Polka.
And then certain music where it's like, what are you doing with that thing here?
Anything except polka.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But yeah, that's my number one. And I mean, when it's spliced in here, you guys will get it. But wow, it's just so good. And I don't
Can't wait to hear it.
I don't know a ton about the game other than we didn't get it. So, probably some videos on YouTube. But man, it's a great town theme. So
It wasn't like turned into a Super Mario or anything like that.
no, and I mean, I had a hard time.
Like, what did it?
I had a hard time.
Is there
putting
any
this list
spiritual
down,
successor in the United States or anything? You know.
No, I've never heard of. I don't even. It's not part of a series or anything. I don't know what it's just a one-off that they released on the DS in Japan and never came over here.
We'll have to do
But
some.
I mean, like finding this is one of
digging.
those things where I'm like, oh, I could do 3 town themes real easy, but it's like, oh, hey, Streets of Whiterun, I love you, but bye. Ouch. You know, that kind of thing.
So how'd you get it?
What?
This game?
I'm combing the internet for video game music all the time, and I found this. So
Just showed up in his net one day.
yeah, I followed a YouTube hole, and it was there.
All right. Well, our listeners over at Pixelbit went into a music hole as well, which is the worst transition ever, but I'm going to go with it. Michael117, as Patrick had mentioned, chimes in. Number 3 for him was Majula theme from Dark Souls 2. He says, my first playthrough of Dark Souls 2 was pretty special to me, and hearing this understated theme in Majula Village makes me picture my character standing at the scenic coastal village itself and looking inland to see the giant Roman aqueduct traversing the mountains, as well as the king's castle in the far distance. And I'm surprised to hear like a Dark Souls track get in there, because when I think of the Souls games, I don't think of like towns, but I guess there kind of are. So, and you know,
Right.
and again, like I did listen to this one, and it is like a much needed bit of tranquility in an otherwise punishing and, you know, anxiety inducing experience. So
Yeah.
Well, right, but like, first of all, this is a Dark Souls song. You know, like you hear it.
Yeah, that's why I said I was going to be crying, because I listened to this earlier today and I was like, damn, this
But, like-
Majula theme has got me choked up.
So I love it because, so it's got like this music boxy thing going. It's very empty, right? It's very ominous. And it's like there's a melody that's trying to come out, and the game is like, no, you're not allowed to come out. Like it just keeps kind of like choking it off when it tries to get some real momentum going.
Yeah. I feel like
it's perfect.
I feel like
for the
I'm
game.
it in Jack in the Box or something, and I can't pop out or something like that. It's like, I don't think it's supposed to be that clowny, but like I haven't seen the actual part of the game. Like my friend Ken, who like told me about the other game that I was telling you guys to listen to, like Lord of Cinder. He also said about this Majula theme. He's like, this, like Michael 117's my boy. He's like, I used to sit in Majula just walking around because the music and the scenery was so welcoming and safe, which contrasted the rest of the entire game so well. It was the only place I felt safe. So yeah, it must have been, that spot for people like their, what's Superman call it? His Fortress of Solitude.
Oh, that. Okay.
Oh,
yeah.
there you go.
Gotcha. Michael's second pick is from also right there with Patrick's. It's Stalker Shadow of Chernobyl, Dirge for the Planet. He says, this plays on loop via radio in the first village of the game. It's a melancholic dirge with acoustic guitar, violin, and vocal harmonies, lamenting the state of the world, and sets the tone for the sad and harsh world you will find as you wander out into the Chernobyl exclusion zone. I went ahead and listened to all of these before we recorded, and I was, like I said, I was impressed with that track. I thought it was like just really beautiful in a game that I haven't played, but I know is known for how not beautiful it is. Which is kind of a theme going on with Michael's picks, except for his number one, which I'm just going to say, thank you, Michael, for picking this so I didn't have to, because I still get to talk about it. The Normandy theme from Mass Effect 1. He says, Mass Effect has my favorite soundtrack in gaming, and the Normandy is like a small village in and of itself. This theme fills me with nostalgia for wandering that ship and talking to my crew members. And absolutely, yes, like, you probably spend more time on the Normandy than any other place in the first Mass Effect. And again, it has that type of theme where you can just loop it forever, and you're fine. Like, it just puts you into this state of zen. And you could probably listen to that all day long, and you're good.
He's right. Like, this is a really good one. And I thought when I was listening to it, it was like symphonic, as if it were like on a Tron Legacy soundtrack. It was almost like Daft Punk-esque with like a lot of the beats that it was hitting. And it was like pretty techno-y. It was pretty upbeat, and I like it.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing about all his picks is, like, when I took my notes down, the word empty appeared in every single description. Like, there's always, it always feels like, and this isn't an insult to the music at all. Like, it's definitely by design, but it always feels like they held back intentionally.
Yeah.
They could have put more layers into it, but they decided to hold back. What impresses me about this track, though, is it has like that dark intensity to it, but it's like brooding without that crossover into like kind of being emo, and I don't know how else to say it.
Right.
Like, it never crosses that threshold into, okay, I've gone too far into the brooding now. You know what I mean? Like, it's real good. Like, it knows its place. It's just, and if you're going to hear it a lot, it better.
Yeah.
Right? So.
I have my copy of Mass Effect 1 signed by the composer. So that
cool.
makes me happy.
Mm-hmm.
I love the map theme in that game.
Yeah.
I know that's not what we're talking about, but it's so good. Like, I could fall asleep to that.
Next up is Extrian, who is the person that wrote that wonderful review for us, and he doesn't actually go into detail on his song, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to let his music do the talking for him. So his first selection is, surprise, from Chrono Cross, which is Goldove, Another World. So we'll go ahead and listen to that right now. And, you know, we've talked about Chrono Cross a lot on this show, especially since X3 started chiming in, because he's able to work it in almost as much as Angelo talks about Nier. So I feel like we've kind of said our piece, but I mean, that soundtrack is the stuff of legend. It, like, every track fires on all cylinders. It's just a marvel of video game music.
You absolutely cannot go wrong with Chrono Cross music.
You can't.
At all. Now, so this one, it's simple, it's pretty, right? It has that real homey feel, not like the type of homey feel like I was talking about where it's like I want to live here because it's so happy. It's more comfy, you know?
Yeah.
Like there's just some dude hanging out on his porch playing guitar. I love it. There's a tonal shift about halfway through where it adds some more of that like kind of melancholy just before it loops. And it's almost like, this soundtrack is so brilliant. Like, it's almost like there's some musical foreshadowing going on there, right?
Right.
Like things are about to get a little rough, a little emotional. You may become sad.
You may get your consciousness put into the body of your arch enemy. I don't know.
Hey, no spoilers here. That's on our list.
I almost wish it didn't have that wind instrument in it, whatever that is. I thought that was a little bit too much, but whatever. That's me. I'm crazy.
Well,
like way too critical.
X-Rian's second selection is also from Chrono Cross, which is Marbule Homeworld. And I don't really have much to say, but Angelo, did you want to interject some more?
So here's the thing. Like, I love that soundtrack. I never liked that sort of, like, that synthy horn sound that this one has. That's me, personally. That's, like, my one negative thing, though. Like, otherwise, you know, it's a bright, cheerful, good town theme. You'd want to live here. It's just freaking perfect. It really is. It really... That whole OST is freaking perfect.
It is.
So...
And X-Rian's number one is a game that I have not played, and I really need to rectify that. But he picked a track from Okami, which is Wepkir Village. And now this one, so it's interesting. Like I thought this track was great. Like I thought it was really pretty, but I almost felt that it was almost too background music-y in the sense that as I was listening to it, I forgot that I was listening to it, and I went on to do other things, and then all of a sudden realized that I was like 2 more tracks into the soundtrack before I realized, oh wait, like it's just been auto playing. And, that might be a point against it, but maybe it's doing what's intended, which is being background music. Like, I was very happily going about my business of preparing tracks for this episode while I was listening to that. So, maybe that's what the ultimate goal of background music is, right? Like, it's supposed to be in the background. So,
yeah.
I love, like, how unashamedly Japanese the entire Okami OST is. Like, it just leans in so hard to like that whole like that Japanese flavor. It's one of my favorite soundtracks. Absolutely. But what you were saying is it sounds like background music because it doesn't have a whole lot of movement, right? It kind of stays within this like very narrow zone, and that kind of sets it at odds with the rest of the soundtrack. A lot of the other songs are have a little more movement too. But what this one does is instead of having movement, it has that build. So you get about halfway through it, and it starts adding layers and building up, and it's real good. Like it's kind of chill-inducing how well that's done. I didn't even know it had added a layer of strings until like it's almost kind of like soloed them for a little bit. Yeah, but that one actually, I don't know why that one wasn't on my personal playlist, but after I heard it on his pick, I actually added it. So I really like that one a lot.
Guys, I think I learned a lot about myself today when thinking about the village music, and I realized in the world, like in our country, that's what's wrong. Like that's why we're so fractured. Like we don't have good town music. That's why nobody is outside playing together. We're not like in the gazebos and just like sitting around and have like one-liners to like talk as NPCs while like people come by, like visitors. Like I don't know anybody in my town, but I know a lot of people in all of these towns. And
if you actually go to Poxitani in Pennsylvania, they actually just play Pennsylvanian polka on a loop. So
wow.
You'll really get to meet people and shop for items and find out.
That sounds like nightmare fuel, actually.
Yeah, it's like
I'm joking.
Like completely unrelated to that, like it's got the highest murder rate in the entire country.
Wow.
Suicides are alarmingly high.
Damn. That sounds horrifying. But like Lollapalooza has like a bunch of speakers where they play all their music like no matter where you are, and that's pretty cool. But I'm talking like I need some violinist that's always following me around playing some really sad shit, because then I'll be happy. Especially when it's raining. Like I need a violinist in my life, and I think that our town deserves it.
Well, we'll get right on that. After I read Casey's selections, our fellow writer at Pixelbit, his number 3 is from Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green, and he picks Lavender Town. He says, this town has 4 different remixes across 4 games, but this is by far my favorite of them. I love how creepy the theme is, contrasting with the friendly nature of every other town theme, which fits well because of the Pokemon Cemetery in it. This theme always pops up into my head whenever I see or play anything scary. It's just that good. So, I don't want to continue to be the Pokemon hater, because I do think that Pokemon has good music, but when I fired up this one, it was jarring it was like grating on my ears, but I can kind of get why he likes it, because I'm sure everybody who just listened to Mystic Mysidia is also wondering, why the hell did Julian pick that? Like, please, stop, make this stop. It's so annoying.
Yeah, it seemed like it had that creepy, but it almost kind of leaned in on, like, the tropes a little too hard. Like, it has that warbly UFO type sound. It has, like, that scary organ type of sound, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to bash it too hard, because from what I know about Pokemon, it probably adds some much-needed contrast, and I think, that's kind of what Casey was going for, right? Like, here you are in this creepy town with a cemetery, and I think it probably fits that very, very well. It's just not something I would listen to outside of the game and enjoy, you know what I mean?
Unless you're trying to be a creep in a cemetery.
Then you have problems.
And it did start to come around for me a little bit, because it started to remind me a little bit of my favorite musical track from WarioWare Touched, which I talked about on that that Music of the Generation special. And I forget her name now, but it's the little goth girl.
Ashley,
that's it. Yeah, it kind of reminded me of Ashley's theme just a little bit. And so
Ashley.
I was thinking about that song the other day. Like, that is an earworm, dude.
It is.
It really is.
It's going to be stuck in everybody's head now.
Oh, it was already stuck in my head.
True. It's just there.
It is.
Casey's second selection is from Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker, Dragon Roost Island. He says Zelda games have always had great tracks, and Wind Waker has by far my favorite of them. Its track was a huge source of the game's charm, and I feel this island/town had the most upbeat and fun tune to it. That said, the title screen theme still dominated any other track. As per the course, I didn't finish Wind Waker because I almost never finish Zelda games, but I sure do remember that music track, because when I fired it back up, I was like, oh yeah, this is the song I always think of when I think of Wind Waker. And his first selection is from Jade Empire. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I didn't realize I was muted. I said I always loved the Latin percussion in that, because it felt like a very creative use of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you would not think of that as in, oh, let's throw this really like Latin type of thing in an island sort of. I mean, it's not really island sounding, but it's an iconic track. It's perfect.
Yes.
And there's like, I thought it was funny because I went to YouTube to find it just to kind of refresh my memory, and I found a video of the song looped for 10 hours, and it had over 1 million views. Like, that says more about the song than I probably could, so I'm just gonna...
Casey's first selection is from Jade Empire, which is Metropolis 1 and 2. He says, it made simply roaming a city feel epic. I enjoy towns and other games, but I haven't been pumped exploring one like Jade Empire made me.
Yeah.
That is the BioWare game that I wish that they had revisited after they finished Mass Effect. I wish that they had either done Jade Empire 2 or done a remaster of Jade Empire 1, because it's a very unique type of game, and Metropolis 1 and 2 is a wonderful track that just fits with the theme of the game just 100%, you know?
Yeah, that is, you hear that and you go, holy crap, I'm in China, you know? Very powerful, very epic, and, like, voice samples, right? Like, you talk about stuff that's tough to pull off. Like, they put those little voice samples in there. And they actually are just like the perfect touch, because it kind of gives it a little bit of a military, I suppose like Chinese military type of grounding to it, which is just sweet. It was just really well done track.
Yes.
So
Superstep does not play RPGs. Like, he said that many times. And so he took this as just being, as assuming that it was only RPG themed, which I think a lot of people did. You know, there's some games which I think could definitely fit into this that aren't RPGs, but since he doesn't play RPGs, he picked the next best thing, which was all Zelda music. So his first one was Gerudo Valley from Ocarina of Time.
I do love that song.
Yeah. He says, it's a damn catchy theme and stands out because of the Spanish guitar. I can listen to this on a sunny day, whether the game is popped in or not. It almost makes Ganondorf sound like a Colombian drug lord from a movie. No one call me out on being sure, what exact nationality to associate the sound with.
That's what Narcos is about?
Yes, it's about the rise of Ganon. That's how he got all of his cool armor.
Fucking cocaine, dude.
His second one is Kokiri Forest, which we've talked about already. He says, it has a couple of instruments that annoy me, but I love how relaxing it is. Because it's the first area, it also reminds me of reading The Hobbit and thinking when Gandalf comes to take Bilbo on an adventure that I want him to go away. Fuck off, old man. The Hobbit life of living in a green countryside, eating everything and laying back is amazing. To hell with adventure. Sometimes I just want to stay in these opening areas and enjoy the company of the NPCs. Like a Harvest Moon Zelda. Now, I never played those, but I'd be more interested in the social interactions and the farming upkeep.
Sometimes the local magical tree gets cursed and murdered, and then you just gotta do something.
That's true. And his final one is from The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. And he says, I know that Clock Town is technically 3 themes, but I'll cheat and just choose the theme in general. It manages to have the feel of both Kokiri Forest, like starting areas with its upbeat charm, but later parts of it reveal the sinister overtones of the game.
So, okay, I hate the basic theme, right?
Yeah, it doesn't do much for me.
But hold on. It's like this super sickeningly sweet, bouncy, like way too much. But I think they do that because it just, once they start to really twist it around, right? It just makes it that much more effective. Like the way it descends as the days go on into something like darker and darker. Did such a great job of making things like anxious and ominous as it goes on. And like to the time where you get to day 3, it's just like a nightmare version of the original theme. That's why it's like that. Now, that doesn't mean I want to hear it,
Right?
but it's well used, I think.
Yeah. Moving on to our last one from Pixel Bit is fellow writer Catherine Hauser. Her number 3 is from the Wind Waker also. It's Dragon Roost Island. She says, I agree with Casey on this choice, as this was one of my favorite Zelda tracks to date. I'm so happy that they remixed it to use in Breath of the Wild, which is, it's Rito Village in Breath of the Wild. And she says sometimes she goes there just to hear that song. Her next 2 haven't been mentioned though. Her second one is from Final Fantasy V, Home Sweet Home. This song is really relaxing and pretty in the game, playing in Bart's hometown of Lix. My favorite version is on the Final Fantasy V Dear Friends album, where the song is given lyrics. That's actually probably the one I'll go ahead and throw in just for fun. Is one of those tracks, like, talking about Uematsu, you can tell that he has certain songs of his that are his favorites because of how often they get put onto different albums. This is one of those songs, which invariably, if there's a collection of Final Fantasy music that he has curated, this gets put in.
I can't wait to hear this one. This is going to be so good, Julian.
And I think rightfully so, though, because it's got that medieval sort of, it's that minor key thing. Like, I don't know, like you hear minor key and you think melancholy or dirgy, but sometimes it's just a minor key and it's just beautiful.
Right.
Right? And that's this. You know, this is that version of a minor key type of song.
Now, Catherine, I just want to talk to Catherine for a moment, meet one-on-one, because we know each other pretty well. You and I both know his name is Butts. And therefore, it's funnier that he comes from Lix. I just want to acknowledge this. Friend to friend. It's funny.
Is that in Bean Valley?
It's actually just a little bit away. Just have to kind of go outside of Bean Valley and go down a bit, and you'll find it.
Okay, good to know. A little south of Bean Valley.
Yeah, that's it.
Catherine's number 1 is from Final Fantasy VI, Kids Run Through the City. She says, this song is great, is a great MIDI, but it is a stunning piano piece. If you've never heard the solo piano version, do yourself a favor and YouTube it. One of the best songs in the game from my favorite Final Fantasy soundtrack. And you won't have to YouTube it because I own that soundtrack, so I'm just going to go ahead and throw in the piano version of that track. So enjoy, everybody.
Yeah, I did myself a favor and I listened, and I'm happy I did. It was pretty poppy, I think. I would say. How would you describe it, Julia? You know it, back of your neck.
Yes, from the back of my neck. It's a gorgeous track.
It's like you know it like the back of your neck.
You know, my thing is that like the Final Fantasy VI soundtrack is so long that, and I've listened to it so many times that I don't necessarily, like, everything kind of runs together, and I don't necessarily remember like certain track names. So I'm actually going to have to like refresh my memory on it, because she commented just before we started recording, so I haven't had a chance to re-listen to it in perfect honesty.
Is that the Zoso theme? The one I was talking about before, the piano one from the Thief Village?
No, this definitely isn't Zoso. This one runs in some of the other towns, but it's not Narsh, or it might, maybe it plays in Narsh. I don't know. I'm gonna have to go back and look. It's been a while since I've actually sat down and listened to the whole Final Fantasy VI soundtrack.
I think this might be my second favorite Final Fantasy town theme.
Yeah,
I do. Just because it works so well, like, it just sounds like, the title of it's what's on the label, right? It sounds like there's a bunch of kids that are maybe kind of poor, but they absolutely love just running around the street and kind of playing whatever they make up. Like, that works. As a description for the song. Yeah,
it's starting to come back to me now, because if I remember, it specifically plays in the town where Locke's girlfriend is from.
Okay.
Rachel.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Yeah.
That's familiar now.
Yeah, because there actually are kids running in the city there. Like, when you first walk in, like, they're kind of like playing running in circles when you first enter that town.
Yeah.
I'm going to say something shocking here. I think that standard village theme from Final Fantasy VI is terrible. Like, the one that plays in a lot of villages, that the da 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 da.
Yeah,
I hate that song. It's so grating. All the choice of instruments just bore into my skull and make me angry.
It gets monotonous. That's the problem. Like, it is a very, I hate to say this, it's a very by the numbers town theme.
Yeah.
And
I dislike town themes like that.
Yeah. Like, they can be comfortable and still be creative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then, we have this one, which there's just like a sort of simplistic satisfaction to the music. And it works. I like it. So.
Yeah.
Did you ever hear the the one that got cut, the unused town theme from Final Fantasy VI?
No, I wasn't aware of such a thing.
Yeah, there's one out there. It's very happy, which is probably why it didn't work. It is good. It is good. It didn't make my top 3, but you should check it out if you haven't heard it yet.
You'll have to make a comment on the show thread and throw that link in there.
I will do that.
You gotta put some lyrics on that about some unused Final Fantasy stuff.
We only got a couple over at Twitter, but Mike Fallick at Our Hero Comic, who's been on the show a couple times, says, "Aw, dudes, Nerds Without Pants is asking for less Pokemon, then ask for music? Red Blue Lavender Town. There's a 10-hour loop I play on YouTube sometimes."
That hurt.
And then PK Becker, Transmet, on the Pixelbit site, he says he only came up with one, but he says, "I have fond memories of the music in Traverse Town in Kingdom Hearts." Which, John, I know that you'll be becoming very intimately acquainted with that song very soon.
I'm already acquainted with it. Yeah, we're all recorded and ready to go with that episode.
Okay, I need to get on the stick. Actually, I didn't mention at the beginning. I figured we'd leave it for the end, but John is part of the Square Roots podcast, which is go ahead, John. Just tell him real quick about what you guys do and what you're going to be doing.
It's a game club. So we play through a chunk of a game at a time, a little chunkerino, usually between 2 to 6 hours of gameplay per week. and then we talk about it. So it's not like a let's play in terms of we aren't narrating as we play. We just discuss themes and characters and story events from that chunk of the game and then move on. And it's pretty fun. We cover, usually takes us between 4 to 15 episodes per game, depending on the length. We're trying to cut that down to maybe maximum 10. So it's going to take us 7 to get through Kingdom Hearts, which I think is a pretty good number.
Yeah.
And, so that's what we're working on right now. We just finished Super Mario RPG, which we did in 4 episodes, which was a little short. One of those episodes took about 7 hours of playtime, and I was going a little nuts.
That's actually a fun series. I was going to replay it with you guys on that one, but it turned out to be a game that I remembered well enough that I didn't have to actually replay it in order to remember the stuff. It's like, as you guys were talking about it, I just was like, oh yeah, I remember all this now. So, but I have picked up my copy of Kingdom Hearts for PS4 to play along with you guys because I haven't played it since it was new. So looking forward to revisiting that one.
This is really my first time playing through it. I got this far the only time I've ever played it. So it'll be an adventure to see what happens next. I have no idea.
Well, what's happening next for our next edition of Stage Select is my selection. And so what I want to know from the pantsless ones and also our listeners, I want to know your top 3 game developers of all time. Now, I will allow you to get as granular as you want with that, because there are some companies that are both publishers and developers, like Capcom, where I will accept if you just want to say Capcom as a blanket company, or if you want to get really down and dirty and say that you want this particular team from that particular company.
Okay.
Like, I leave it to you how granular you want it to be. So, again, if you love Kojima Productions but hate Konami, you can definitely say Kojima Productions, that's fine.
Oh, people are gonna get so cute with this one.
Yeah, they are. So as always, we want your feedback and your input. So you can either go to pixelbit.com and go to the show thread for episode 110 and comment there. Or you can go to Twitter and hit us up at NWPcast and give us your selections there, and we'll read them on the show. And you have until 8:30 Central Time on April 20th. That's when we'll be recording our next episode. So get your submissions in by then and be a part of the show. But for now, we're going to wrap this segment up and get into some Consumption Junction.
So good to meet you, Mr. Chess. I've always heard that you're the best at housing nights and castles high up in the air. So I beseech you, Mr. Chess, to let me sleep inside your bed. Would you sleep too? Would you sleep too in the chair?
So you're probably wondering what happened to the rest of this episode. That's a very good question. What ended up happening is that once I put the music in for our stage select, it ballooned that section into almost 2 hours. I didn't realize that we had that much music in this segment, and I wanted to bring it to you in as high a quality as possible. I wanted to bring it to you in stereo. So I decided to go ahead and split this show into 2 parts. So we're going to go ahead and close out this one. I hope you enjoyed the stage select segment. But if you want, you can go ahead and download episode 110.5, which will be Consumption Junction and Chrono Crossing for this episode, continuing with our good friend John from Square Roots. So I apologize for the inconvenience of splitting it up this way, but really you wanted to be able to hear this part of the show in stereo, and you don't want to have had to download a nearly 3-hour long stereo podcast, because that would just be insane. Even as it is, the file size is still going to be pretty big. So yeah, that's going to do it for this part of Nerds Without Pants. I hope you'll stick around for part 2. Thanks, guys.